Welcome everybody to the Tip of the Spear March. How is everybody doing? God,
Doing
that just
good.
hit me. I
How
don't
are
know what just
you?
happened there.
Willis is
I'm doing
dying.
great. How
Holy
about you?
cow! That just came out of nowhere. Welcome everybody to Tip of the Spear Veterans Roundtable March edition. How is everybody doing, Mr. Rich? How are you, sir?
Doing good. Just got done doing a Chick-fil-A run with my wife, so I'm in the good graces now.
Nice. You
I'm
got the you got
jealous.
the Lord's chicken, and you're ready to rock and roll. There we go.
Some sun joy.
Yep. Miss Carol Lee, how are you?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Another day almost in the books.
Yeah, you got to love it. It's today's Wednesday, March 27th. So far, this week has been a great week so far. And I'm just hoping the weather continues to improve, but as long as it don't get too hot too fast.
Right.
Miss Candace, how are you?
I'm wonderful.
So Miss Candace is just now getting over a case of food food poisoning.
Oh my God. I was dying. I had never, I made it almost 39 years of life without ever having food poisoning.
That's
And
not
I woke
fun.
up the other morning and I was like, something's not right. I had my mom like panicking, wanting to call an ambulance. I was like, I don't know what's happening.
Mm.
Oh, it was horrible.
And so, Mr. Rich, how's the training the new guys? I know you've been doing a lot of traveling, so you're back home now.
Yeah, I'm home now until middle of May. I go to Iowa. But, training new Joes and Josephine, a lot of fun, and getting our new Tuesday show going with my brother and Jake. That's been some hard work too, but it's awesome. Great rewards.
Yeah, I bet. So I love that you got some other bodies to help you, host podcasts throughout the week. I caught the Jake and your brother Steven last night for a little bit, and they did a really good job, man. They represented the Misfit Nation pretty good.
I was proud of them last night. I didn't even curse at him much after the show.
So when they're doing the show, are you behind the scenes?
Yeah, I'm 100% producing for them, so that way they don't have to worry about
Nice,
anything else.
nice,
If they're doing the
nice.
work and help them out.
Awesome. I love it. I love it, man. Miss Carol Lee, uh,
Yes.
how are things with you and both of your kiddos and stuff? How's things going there?
Well, actually, we've seen an improvement. So, with our middle son, happy to have heard that he's in a much better mind space. So, I'm
Ooh.
thrilled about that. He's got a cane he's using, so he's more mobile than having to depend on a buddy walk or buddy carry, however you want to put it.
Right.
And he has a new first sergeant who called him into his office this morning. And he was a little nervous, he said, but he just wanted to go over some stuff because um, he had to do some paperwork for him regarding his med board. And he didn't have the information. And it wasn't anything asking, what medications or any of that. It was just, when did this start? And things similar to that. So he was really pleased.
Well,
Good
that's
deal.
awesome. That's
I
awesome.
know. And my oldest he is chomping at the bit. Like I said, he's got his EAS date. He said he'll probably pop on here in a little while.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Well, I'm glad you said that. He's in a better mind space, and that kind of goes back to what Rich kind of posted in our group chat the other day. Rich, do you want to talk about that, sir?
Yeah, it was a great article I popped across while I was sitting in the middle of the woods in Louisiana, woods and swamp, I should say, and waiting for the blue force to come forward so I can attack them. And I seen this article, I was like, wow, this is an eye opener. I need to share this with the team. But I shared it with him, knowing that that's a mindset some people have, that it if we don't get out of our own way, it's gonna get worse. And I think we've talked about this before, Willis, that if we have purpose, we'll be better off. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't really recognize. Purpose. You have to have purpose when you hang up that suit. When you take out those boots and put on whatever you put on next, you got to have purpose moving forward. It took me a year to find that purpose again, and thankfully, I had a strong family here to help me and keep me focused, take me out of the house when I needed to make me stop drinking beer with the dogs until I got a job. some people don't have that. They don't have someone at home to help them. Like the young Marine who was missing last week and just found up here in Tennessee, Kingston. Everyone was worried about him. He left everything there. His everything, and all they kept saying, he has PTS. He has PTS. For some people, it doesn't mean anything. For him, it probably just meant he needed a breather to get away. And we need to look at all those aspects. Sometimes you just need that drive. And from Michigan to Tennessee is a pretty good drive, especially to Eastern Tennessee, as you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I was really glad to hear he had been found and looked back to his family. But it did scare me just for the simple fact he'd left his cell phone. And it was like, okay, well.
Didn't he leave a note too saying that he's going to the bridge or something of that nature?
Yeah.
And you know that it is crazy because what up, Matt Johnson?
Hey, Matt.
I thought you'd be making shirts, bro.
I am making shirts, but I take a break. Got carpal tunnel syndrome, you know.
I hear you.
Yeah.
But no, I was glad that that they found him safe and sound, and no harm, no foul. And sometimes we do, as veterans, we just have to disconnect and disappear for a little bit just to recharge our batteries. But yeah, going back to your article, Rich, the military. This is a hot topic when it comes to military suicides and veteran suicides. It's a very hot topic. Does it start with leadership or does it start Congress? Where does the change? Where does the change need to happen?
Grassroots. You have to start. Congress ain't going to change anything. Congress is all about votes. That's all they're worried about. We, as the grassroots, where we are, with our trenches, our noses in the grind, talking to veterans on a daily basis, that's where it needs to change. And once you start to change down here, it'll move up, and Congress will take some heyday out of it, and they'll get some votes for saying, "Hey, we passed this bill," but it has to change at our level.
Yeah, so it's going to have to take all of us like-minded individuals to get together and form I don't want to say coalition, but a movement, a veteran movement to help eliminate, veteran suicide, military suicide, because unfortunately, the 22 a day that's reported, and we all know that number is a little bit higher. One is too many, and we all say that, in our own respective podcasts, one veteran suicide is too many. So yeah, somewhere, and I would agree with you. It probably has to start with our level, and what we need to do in our own respective areas, get enough like-minded people together, and go start talking to our state representatives and our state senators, and then move forward and move it up the chain as high as we can. Because, like Matt just said, 22 until none. Yeah, I would agree with you there, sir. So this article, I was trying to share it on the screen, but I'm trying to see basically what this article was saying is that, but of course, the services have employed bureaucratic stalling and smoke screens to evade this acknowledgement, because to do so would be to admit they need more people. And I'm assuming that's probably meaning by forcing the military service to acknowledge suicides does not settle evenly on career fields. We can take a first step toward getting the services to address manpower shortfalls to restore a sustainable tempo to these specialties. So basically what it's saying is that some job sets, specialties have more suicides than other jobs in the military. Do you agree with that, or do you disagree with that?
Well, I almost think some of that, like the military services, you're looking at the VA as well, not having the manpower to help. But I mean, that's a bittersweet. It's okay. Do we have enough people to help? But then you also have the veterans that their ego's too big, or there's this stereotype about going into the VA and then, you're blacklisted. There's so many different things. So it's not like Rich was saying, like starting at those grassroots, there's so much of I don't want to go to the VA. How many years did it take you to go to the VA, Willis?
A long time.
But you did, but not everybody does that. So you have ones that don't trust it. They come out and they're in this mindset and they're in these spirals. They don't trust the government, and the VA is considered government.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at the camaraderie ship between your brothers and your sisters, and going, no, I need somebody like minded. I don't need somebody sitting in an office that has never been through what I've been through to tell me what I need to do to fix this. So there's a lot of controversy with that. So I think grassroots is super, super important, where, you were mentioning Congress and things like that. I don't think that matters. Sure, things need to be passed. There are other laws that need to be put into place. But when it comes to support, you got to have those that have an understanding of what these people have went through,
Right.
and have that, I can talk about this and not be judged, or I can talk about this and you're not just going to try to medicate me. There's so much wrong with, I'm going to say, the VA system, because I mean, I've watched how many of them go in there and then they just drug them, and that doesn't help anything. It doesn't. It's sure, sometimes there are some medications that help and they calm you down, but it doesn't get rid of anything. It doesn't help you process things. It doesn't help you be able to cope with your daily life and be able to want to wake up the next day.
Right. Well, welcome, Killen.
Hey, kid.
Yeah, your son's in here. He said I'm already playing ping pong with the VA. I bet you are.
He's
And
not
then
even out yet.
Army Army memes up there posted that we should hear his story. So I told him to send me an email. But yeah, I mean the VA. So okay, with me, I'm recently just now going through my VA basically since I started sometime last year, and it takes forever to get through the process of getting your original. Um, um, Getting through your original appointments, and then like for me, I was trying to get my therapy set up, but I was trying to get a community consult, so that way I didn't go through the VA doctors for my therapy. I wanted somebody in the civilian side, for one, because I work from 7 a.m. till 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I needed somebody that was going to be open that time of day, and I finally had it set up, and then it got canceled because the place that they had it set up no longer did appointments after 4 o'clock. So I had to call back into community consult, and then they had to find somebody. So it was a big struggle, but luckily they found a place that's like 5 minutes from my office or 10 minutes from my office, and I'm able to get off work at 3:30, make it to my 4 or 4:30 appointment. And they're civilian doctors, but the guy that they got me with, he's dealt with first responders having PTS, and other veterans as well. So he's really, really down to earth. He understands. He kind of he tells me, he goes, I can never understand fully of what you went through, but he said I can help you with this, or I can help you with that. And so I'm excited to see the process, and see how he's going to help me by setting up ways to cope with my triggers, and ways to cope with my anxiety. And at first they were like, well, what about doing medicine? I was like, no, look, I want to try the non-medicine route first. I said, because I don't want to be on pills for the rest of my life. I said, let's try a non-traditional route, and see how that plays. But I think it was smart for me to go outside the VA for my therapy than trying to go through the VA and see the VA doctors. So,
but I mean, your key word there was luckily you were able to get that, and you have veterans that are going in and then they're scheduled for these CMPs, and a lot of those are community doctors outside of the VA, and you're counting on that, whatever specialist that is, to check the box that you need to be checked in order to get the care that you need.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate, because somebody that doesn't understand what's going on in that blender in your brain, where you can maybe catch this or maybe catch that to talk about it. And in this hour-long appointment, you're supposed to be able to drop everything to go, this is why I need this care. And they'll hear that, understand that, and care enough to go, okay, this is what this person needs. And that's the unfortunate part about the VA system, is it's all dependent on what somebody else thinks, their opinion. somebody that's never been through the things that you guys have. Sorry, like you're gonna get me on a tirade on this. I'm so like I'm in
I'm
it.
good.
I've worked with you guys for 20 years, and it pisses me off, and it breaks my heart to see the things that happen. And I think I can understand things more than some of these specialists do because of just living with you guys and being around you guys. But it is so important. Like I am going to back what Rich says all the way. Like grassroots. It starts at the grassroots. You gotta be there. You gotta ask that next question, like you always say. You just and listen. Listen to hear, not to respond, and that's something I think is very, very important when you're talking to some of these veterans that are either spiraling or just going through it or need that space. I'm not doing it right now. I'm not listening to hear. Sorry, because I'm on a roll. But you do like you got to listen to hear, and I don't think some of these therapists and things do that. They want to go, well, this is what you should do, and here's your homework, and it's the same for every person that comes in their office.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
Well, but that's your key word. Your key word is it doesn't work for everybody. Everybody's different, so everybody has a different path they have to take. So I get it that everybody wants to find a way to fix everything. That's what we do now. But what we need to understand also from a veteran perspective, right? We have to look at this from another angle. Anytime we start talking about things like this, we start talking about VA, right? VA. That's not, I mean, that is the problem. That is part of the problem. But the other part of the problem is it doesn't start with the VA. We have to remember that. It starts when you're in the service, when you go do all these things and you're running with your leadership, you're trying to do a great job, you're trying to promote the ladder, you're trying to do all the things that it takes to be a good soldier, sailor, Marine, airman, whatever it is. Something needs to change in there because in there, you have doctors that understand what you're going through. In there, you have people that have been through the things that you're going through. So until we can start to make it, which it's getting better, that it's okay to go do those things, the VA is getting something that's already broken, if that makes sense. Yeah. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but they're getting something that's already had time to ferment and get there. So to fix that automatically is going to be difficult. So that's why veterans get frustrated. Going to therapy and someone gives you homework, you're like, I don't need homework, I need you to fix it. Mm-hmm. Some veterans also need to sit down and go, okay, well, let me listen to what you're saying and let's process this and see if we can fix it, right? Yeah. There's so many things that can be fixed into these different instances that veterans have or the different problems they face and triggers and all that stuff. But think about it this way. How many veterans put themselves in the position to be around those triggers, right? Yeah. So if you put yourself in that position and it happens, like, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but why would you even take yourself there in the first place, right? If you know that's your problem, stop going there, right? Sometimes, yeah. But sometimes we look at it as we need a counselor or somebody that can understand what is, the veteran's been through. These same counselors don't understand what firefighters go through. They don't understand what law enforcement officers see. They don't understand what EMTs look at every day. At the end of the day, sometimes, we talk about it sometimes on ours. You just need someone to listen. Sometimes someone needs to just call and go, I need to just get it out. And so when that happens, let them do that. But trusting the process and going through it, whether you're in the VA or before the VA, sometimes you've got to trust that process. And that's one thing we were taught in the military, right? Trust the process. Yeah. Yeah. So there's some part of it where we need to start doing that because some people have a great experience at the VA, right? Mm-hmm. They do. But the people that don't are just like the stuff you see on social media every day. The people that have the bad experience are the things that everyone wants to talk about. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. But there's differences there. I just think that it's such a touchy subject because we've all been touched by it in some form or fashion. Personally, know somebody, been through it. At the end of the day, you just got to be there. What we're doing right now allows people to talk and get things out and do that. And so everything is different, and that's what we got to understand. And it is frustrating, but being frustrated doesn't fix the problem. Complaining about it all the time doesn't fix the problem. That grassroots that Rich talked about is the thing. Just reach out to some people and talk to them. Call and ask that next question. Call and talk to the people that you've known in service and see how they're doing. Just reach out and see what's going on with people. Like that kind of stuff, just start doing that. Because we have to also remember you're only going to fix so much. And when you create that movement of people that are helping to fix things, that's what we hope to do here, right? Get more people to talk about this and do these things, and that's where it starts. But, motivation is in different, arenas on how, you would do it or how it would get fixed. You know what I mean?
But there's also that stigma that everything can be fixed. And that's
Not
not
everything
true.
can be fixed.
Not there are things that cannot. There's things that you've seen that cannot be fixed, and those were completely unavoidable for the situation that you were in. And that's
Sure.
where you're talking about somebody that's out there while you're in the field, and while you're sitting in Haiti, if there's a doctor there for you to talk to,
No,
you
I'm
guys are
not
all
talking
going through
about
that at the
in
same
Haiti.
time.
I'm talking
Well,
about when you come back and when you're supposed to go through these post-deployment
right.
briefs and you're supposed to go do through that stuff. Let's be real. Like in the moment, there's nothing you can do to fix that.
Right.
There's
And
nothing.
once that's broken, it's broken.
But you
And
have to be able to talk about it after. And I think that's the
Right.
biggest problem is a lot of people don't talk about it after. They just like, it goes back because everybody's going to handle that trauma differently. Like any other trauma you would ever go through, they're gonna hide from it. They're not gonna want to talk about it. They're gonna internalize it. They're gonna hold it in. It's gonna become that pressure cooker because they don't want to relive through it or they don't want to tell people about it. And sometimes you don't realize that you just opening up and talking to somebody about it. Not everybody's gonna try to change you. Some people are gonna listen to you. And to be honest, good therapy is probably like everything else. You don't buy the first car on the lot, right?
right.
That just means maybe the first person you talk to is not the right person. Maybe you should talk to a couple of other people, but you got to be willing to do that and just know that you're going to have to like unpack the box every time.
Yeah.
But, sometimes, to fix things or get what you want, it takes hard work. Right.
Yeah.
And, that part of it as well, you got to work on it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like for me, like when I came back and I got out of the military, the process that we had is a whole lot different now than it was then. Like the stigma of, hey, you don't need to go talk to, the medical doctors about anything that's going on with you, back then. And now it's like you said, it's much better than it was. But it's still not to the point where if, like, say, Killen, who's still in the military and the Marines, if he wanted to go talk to a therapist while he's still in, there's going to be that stigma. Oh, something's wrong with him. It's something he's messed up or something of that nature. So a lot of times, military members won't go see a therapist while they're still serving.
Yeah. So to be a devil's advocate to that part of it, right? Just playing the devil's advocate on the shoulder.
Mhm.
How many veterans don't go to college because they think it's too hard? How many people in service, don't go do things that they know they can get, right? Like there's different things you can go, different programs you can go into, right? Tuition assistance, you can go get your degree, you can apply for officer programs, like all these different things. Somebody told them it's not going to work, and then they don't go do it. And I think that piece right there is where the leadership needs to come in when you're in the military, your senior leadership saying it's okay to do it. Because, at the E5 smoke deck, that's where all the shit goes down, right? That's where all the good stuff is. That's where the janitors are cleaning the school and finding the dirty. But you've got to let the guys that are in that group, right? Like when we were recruiters and we would go to high schools and do high school recruiting, there's like 4 or 5 kids in there that want to be in the military. But they're not going to come talk to us because their friends are going to make fun of them, right?
Yep.
So they would try to find a way to come see you after, you know what I mean, and go through it. But it's kind of the same in those things. Like there's a whole bunch of things that you can do to make it better. And let's be frank, like in some cases, we don't do it because we just don't want to. You know what I mean? We just choose not to.
I've talked to several who feel like it just makes them appear weak going and asking for help. But I also had, and I will never forget this conversation, a veteran, Air Force veteran I had met last year said that what people need to realize, veterans need to realize, is that when you sign your name on that line, it's a two-way contract. Not just you doing the job, but they in turn, the government, has to then fulfill their end of that contract, which is taking care of you at the end of it all. And people, I think, well, from what I'm seeing from the guests that I've had and other veterans that I've talked to, they're so used to having everything compartmentalized. I mean, that's what veterans were taught, right? You keep it all in, you deal with what's in front of you and get that job done. And now they're having a hard time, as you said, Matt, unpacking everything because they weren't taught how to do that part.
Yeah. And you are right. A lot of times, us veterans or us military service members, we do compartmentalize everything that we deal with, regardless if it was good or if it was bad or whatnot. We do, you know. For me, I hid. I that stuff was way down deep for a really long time, and my wife will tell you. For we've been together 20 years. I didn't talk about a lot of the stuff that I went through while I was in the military. And what I have realized in the last couple of years, the more I talk about it, the easier it gets.
Right.
And the more that I open up about the stuff that I've seen and the stuff that I've done, it does get easier, but it'll never go away.
Sure.
And I think with going to the VA, seeing the therapist, and helping him, giving me some things that I can do to help control like my triggers and my hypervigilance and my anxiety. Like, I was out in Texas at Matt's house and we went to the Houston rodeo. Um, and that was a buttload of people. I mean, a buttload of people.
More than a
And
buttload.
and my head was, I literally was on a swivel the whole time, pretty much, just because of how hyper vigilant that I am. And here in Kentucky, I can carry my piece with me anywhere I go. I always have my 9mm on me. But when I was in Texas, I couldn't take it with me. And I was just like, man. But being around Matt, being around Ty, being around Scott, and then having my wife there and Becky there, that helped ease my anxiety. It helped ease my hypervigilance, but it was still there. So I don't know. So
I mean, you're looking at two ends of the spectrum, though, because Matt, like you're talking about, is getting that leadership in there and doing the right things while these service members are transitioning, and that's one end of the spectrum. But then you got people like you guys that you don't have that option because you're no longer in. You've served your time, you're out, you're finally trying to deal with some of the things that you've compartmentalized. And so I don't know. It's two totally separate things that have to be worked on.
I mean, it's two totally
you
separate
need the
things,
leadership in the service, and then you need the grassroots for those of you that aren't in anymore. There's so many different avenues that need work.
Well, I mean, think about it this way. This is where you can think. If we're talking about grassroots things you can do to get the veteran community back together when they're out, right? VFWs need help more than ever. There's not a good membership in the VFW. The younger guys don't want to go there for whatever reason. They think it's like it used to be. And then you've got the older population of the veterans at the VFW that still have their mindsets on it. However, if you can get everybody together in a room and talk, you see that you all have the same shit going on inside. You just got to fix it. American Legions are the same way. They need more people in these places because they advocate for us. They advocate for things for us to do. But if we don't get people to go to those places, we're not going to do it. And we've talked about it on this podcast here in the Tip of the Spear before. A lot of the younger veterans are going to go to places where they get free trips and they get all these crazy things that are given to them because that free trip I get to go hunting, that helped with all my problems. No, you need to go into a VFW and be around other veterans on a monthly meeting basis or help in the community with those guys and put yourself around them. I think, Willis, the reason you were okay in Houston at a concert is we were all around together.
Yeah.
We weren't dispersed in different places. You knew who the people were that were there with you. You had a place to go. There was people standing there.
Yeah.
And just doing trips is amazing. And we work with a ton of nonprofits to do those trips, and they work so great because it brings some guys out of that shell to talk about what they've got. But then in other places, once you're done with the trip, what do? There's not a trip every day.
Yeah.
You go back to where you were.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I'm
start going to
the
these
VFW thing.
Go to the VFW, go to the American Legion. If the VFW is not good, be the person that goes in to help change it. But there's resources and avenues there. Not every VFW is good, just like not every military senior enlisted leader is good. They get fired all the time. Look at the internet. They just got rid of 2 in the Air Force at one of the Air Force bases.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like there's problems everywhere. And in the military, we worked with and dealt with leaders that were problems. But when we became those leaders, we fixed that.
Yeah.
Right? And then you move forward. And so until we can just put the past in the past, right? Leave all the bullshit behind and start to go forward. I think that's what helps. You know, we watch the news, we look to a lot of things. And for me personally, tons of people have opinions why everything's wrong. But you know what they never give you? How to
Answers.
fix
Answers.
it.
Yeah.
They won't do it. They just want to complain. And you're really good at that. Put as much energy that you have into complaining as you do into other things. And I can guarantee you that I could probably point at some people that could tell me I need to take that advice in some things, because we all need to do it. But it frustrates me that we're always mad about it, but there's not a lot of movement to change it. We're just always looking for money for the next nonprofit, or we're looking for this next cool thing that we can go do. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just, there's a lot of resources out there that we can go look to find. I know that Rich, you have a ton of resources that you work with up there. There was a guy that we reached out to Rich for that was like, I had this happen to me. And he was like, call these 4 people. You know what I mean? And that's what this is about. We're building that network to help people. And I think too, we have to make sure that we realize too, that sometimes people want to be helped.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what
no,
I mean? Like that has to become to a realization as well.
Asking is them saying, I need them.
Yeah.
They may not need something. They might just need you to answer that email that guy emailed you guys.
Yep.
He just needed you guys to say, hey, we're here for you, bro. And you hit the nail on the you and what you said earlier about the 5 deck. I think he called it. We called it E4 Mafia in the Army. What the scuttlebutt tells them is the VFW is no good because it's these old guys from Vietnam and Korea that sit there, they smoke, they drink, and all they do is complain about women, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to go there. But they won't go in the damn door. They won't go in the door to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
We have one up here outside Gate 10 that it's thriving because you have whole units that go out there and hang out. They do turkey shoots there. They do fundraisers there. They got together and helped with the tornado recovery. They're still helping with some of the families with that. If we as this roundtable, especially if we don't advocate to get people into those seats, they might go away as well. We're just one part of it, though.
Yeah.
Like Candace said earlier about drugs at the VA. My first time in the VA, the doctor never even looked at me. He looked at his computer the whole time. He said, I'm prescribing you all this. I take it, so it's. I said, what? So I got it. I called my sister. She's a doctor. She said, do not take those drugs at the same time. You'll die. So I took a drug. Amnesty box. I said, here you go. I tried to go to the VA counseling, and I got escorted out of the building in Nashville because someone told me I had. I went ballistic. They escorted me out, and I wound up in community care, which helped me 100 times better.
Yeah.
And from that day on, I went to the same and I said, brother, thank you. You saved my life. I moved.
Yeah.
In the VA here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, is the one closest to me. They actually are starting, they represent and go to the high schools, and with the JROTC, they do the awards for them, all sorts of different services. They're doing so much for the community here. And it's interesting hearing from you guys the different stories from different VFWs, and you just assume that they would be the same, but they're really seems like they're night and day.
I mean, they're made to be community centers, though, right? There's a VA everywhere, and it's made to where you don't have to drive 3 hours to go find something. And granted, some VAs are not VAs, but some VFWs are not going to be as good as others because the population of people that are there are just probably not the people that are helping, and it may be frustrating. So if that's the case, then take the extra 20 minutes and go to another one, right? There's nothing saying you got to go to your hometown one, but at the end of the day, it's sometimes really difficult to point. I've heard horror stories about VFWs, and I've been to a lot of VFWs in Houston. Amazing. They do concerts. They put on barbecue cook-offs. They give money back to the communities. They're all over the place. But then I've heard a lot of horror stories about VFWs where people that are in there are swindling money and they're gambling in there, and it's just completely not what it should be. But you know what you hear about? The VFW that's doing it wrong. We didn't talk about the one that just gave 10 grand to this or that, and that's what I mean earlier about like problems are always what's focused on. I think sometimes if we start to talk about the victories, right?
Yeah.
Then the victories become the conversation and not the problem, right? Because you want to show like, yeah, he had this, but then like that's what we do for us, for the triple threats. We'll bring you on and you went through all this crap and it sucked. but what are you doing today? And it's like, I'm doing all this cool shit. And that's what you want to see. The story of like now, like look at this guy, this girl, whoever it is, they're out on the other end and look at all the great things they're doing. That's the message we're giving. So not focusing necessarily on the bad, but the good. And it's hard to do that. I get it. It's super hard to do that because just pull up your phone right now and look at Facebook or turn on the news. Everywhere you turn, it's always horrible. And so, it's hard to be happy when everything is made out to be bad,
Yeah, so I was approached by a lady out of California not too long ago on my podcast for the American Legion Post 291. It's in California. I think it's Newport Beach. They have a yacht club at their American Legion. I'm like, really? You have a night a yacht club? So, but anyway, I got them scheduled to come on the podcast because I do know that there are bad VFWs, bad American Legions. Candace was involved with one of the VFWs. She was with the Cooties and auxiliary, right?
Yeah, I ran through all of the chairs.
Unfortunately, the leadership that was there was not good. Like it literally,
it's the whole state of Kentucky.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of bad. The VFWs here in Kentucky are not the greatest. Now, I'm not saying that there probably aren't some good ones in Kentucky, but a lot of the leadership in Kentucky that's running the VFWs is not good. And I'm talking state level leadership.
It's the good old boys.
But no, yeah, VFWs for me. When I was I'm still a recovering alcoholic, but I didn't go to VFWs because of the stigma. It's the good old boys just drinking around the bar. Yep. And Stephen Williams just said, unfortunately, that VFW issue is nationwide.
Oh, it absolutely is. And that's why I know too much. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut. They do the requirements and it's all about reports. It's all about numbers. So yeah, money goes into the community because you have to stay open. And so that's all it is. And it's unfortunate because I was with this VFW for 15 years and I did at auxiliary level, at district level, at state level. I went through chairs and I was trying to make the change and I was trying to worry about the veteran and everything that I did, every event, every awareness, every kids night, every family night, it was all about the veteran and the pushback on the people that are in there trying to do the right thing. So when you have those newcomers that come in and our passion is to take care of who's important, there is so much pushback because that means you have newcomers coming in. That means the good old boys are upset about that veteran that just walked in the door that needs help, but they're not a member. So don't let them in our bar because it's all they're worried about is that damn bar. It's the bar and the numbers that are coming into that bar. And it drives me crazy because it's not about raising money to give it to a family that needs our help. It's about raising money to be that number one post because we want that white hat because we're more important than this post. And no, that's not why the VFW was created. It was supposed to be a safe place for you guys to come in. And then it's a fight on, are we private? Are we open? And I know too much. And that's more than
so
just
that's the
Kentucky.
thing on the thing right here, right? We're talking about. So how do you fix it?
Right.
What's the fix?
I don't know because I finally walked away when they pushed so hard and it was affecting my mental health and it was hurting more people than it was helping. I went my own way and started my nonprofit and was like, you know what? This is where I'll be the change. Instead of using some nationwide platform, I can do more on my own than I can in something that I can go nationwide with.
Yeah. Well, I know when I went to her VFW as a new person, I was just checking it out. I didn't know if I wanted to join or whatnot, but I didn't get a warm welcome when I went in, when I walked through the doors.
I gave you a warm welcome.
Well, you did,
but I was like auxiliary president and the club manager, so.
Yeah, but the other veterans like the post commander, he didn't really want to talk to me, and the other people that were there, they were just like, who's this? Who's this? So I sat in the corner pretty much the whole time and talked to maybe one or two people that I knew, and it was just like, dude, I'm out. I didn't even stay very long.
And if they didn't know you, what's the first thing they did? Here's your membership form.
Yeah.
Join.
Yeah.
Well, of course.
It's not about that.
It's an organization where if you don't have enough members, you don't get to do the things you need to do. And the reason why they push membership forms to you, why? Because they don't have enough. Because you have a member of a VFW of 300 people, and the same 10 people come to the meetings every month.
Yep.
And that's why nothing gets done. Because all these people that pay their money that say that they're part of the VFW don't want to come in and be that change, right? So just to this point, Stephen put a comment. They do push the good people out. But again, it can't always. I've met and I've have so many business relationships now through the VFW that have helped us grow exponentially. Just because when we go in there, you got to go in there looking at everything for what it is, right? It's opportunities all the time. And so I'm telling you, when they start to get the younger generation of veterans into the VFW that are younger, that they're more eager, they're more motivated, and they all listen, they have the good ideas. You're gonna tell an old Vietnam vet we need to push stuff on social media. He's gonna be like, that damn computer don't. But whatever, people don't like change. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But we got to do it, and it's the VFWs we've been at anyway are amazing. We love the VFW. It's great.
I love that you had a good experience. I love it. Love it.
Maybe it's because I'm in Texas. I don't know.
But it's also you're also not in the internal part of it. If you're just there visiting and you're going to events, you're gonna have a great time.
Heavily involved with the VFW.
Okay.
You're muted,
Right.
Ty. You're muted.
How you doing? I'm Ty. I feel like I need to speak on behalf of the VFW because I've been a post quartermaster, post secretary. I've been on district staff. I've gone to state meetings, and I can honestly tell you, I was in the Army for 18 years and 7 months, and then deployed 7 times to multiple theaters of operation, and I don't think that I'm exaggerating when I say that the Texas VFW District 4 in Houston, and specifically the Tomball VFW Post 2427, saved my life in so many ways. It introduced me to people that I eventually started working with, so I built those type of relationships. I also got to meet the World War II, and I'm a senior leader in the Army. I served 18 years. I got out as a sergeant first class, so I'm probably an anomaly more so than the rule. But what I'll tell you is, I got some notes here all the way back to you should want your therapist to give you homework. Like, the therapy doesn't happen when you're in the office. The therapy happens when you do the homework that you and the therapist talk about, and you go and you practice that in your real life. You have to be willing to make changes too. And I feel like I can talk about this because I've been in therapy for a long time because I deployed a whole lot. So here's what I don't want. I don't want to be part of a podcast where we're going to complain about all the things that are in place that are there to help us. If you got something bad to say and you don't have something to fix it, then I'm not for sure that I want to have that on a podcast. So come with some positive things, or ask someone that's been there. If you're listening to this podcast, if you need someone to advocate for you, I have been in leadership positions at a state level in Texas. I have been in leadership positions in the district of VFWs, and I've been a longstanding member and leader of many, many elected and appointed positions at the Tomball VFW. So I take umbrage to anyone that would have a problem with something that's been put in place to help veterans, and just because of complaining about it and not fixing the problem, that's what's given it the stigma that it has now. So I feel like I can say this and not be exactly an asshole because I've deployed 7 times. There's not a lot of people that have been deployed more than me to be able to need to take part of the things that the units I was with had a psych doctor with them. So I understand most of the regular Army doesn't have that all the time, but I did. So that made the stigma against therapy much less when I got out. So I was not afraid to be vulnerable and share myself. Like, I hear people talk about me now because they say that, I'm a beta male or something. I didn't even know what all this meant, because none of that matters, because I have the experience to be able to help people. And I'm not going to talk about any of the bad stuff that happened to me. That's not what I'm about. I talk about positivity. So you know me very well, Willis. So if
Yes,
this
sir.
built up inside of me within 47 minutes of this, I think our message needs to be a little bit more positive when we're on this, when we're if we're going to be a sounding board that other veterans are going to listen to. Now, every story that I've heard, especially from the mom, I respect those stories. And those are examples of terrible fucking leadership in the ranks of whatever branch we're talking about because we've heard many, many stories. So I'm not downplaying what any of y'all are saying, or I'm not marginalizing your experiences because I've had some shitty experiences as well. The only difference is we are the leaders, so we shouldn't be bringing our shit to our own show. I'm sorry to be an asshole producer to do that, but you got me in the field, so I love you guys. I'm going to go back to normal, and I'll take questions if you want to ask.
No, Ty, you're good, buddy. No, I agree with you. We should find a way to fix the solution. Killen says it right here. So, um, possible solution. How about we try and educate our communities on how veterans actually take seminars, speeches, etc. And don't get me wrong.
Steven, if you think that what I just said was an attack, I am sorry I offended you, but I am in no way attacking anything that happened with you at the VFW. I'm just saying your experience is yours. We are the host of this podcast. We should not be talking shit about the organizations that are there. We should come with answers, not complaints. If we want to hear your story, I totally respect your story. So if you think I'm a bad leader for telling you my good experience with the VFW, I'm not saying your experience was marginalized. I'm saying that when used properly and when you get the right people, you're probably one of the right people that should be leading those organizations. If you get the right people there, the infrastructure that the VFW has in place for the programs for the veterans, when it's used properly, they do work. They absolutely work. Here's the problem. They're not being used enough, so the resources are not even used. Nobody even knows they're there. And then two, you get bad people like you're talking about. I've seen it in my post. I'll tell you, I've had shitty experiences with, people stealing stuff, or talk thereof. So I'm not marginalizing anything y'all are saying. I'm just saying us as the host, we got to curb that. Sorry.
You're right. And I'm going to be the first one to apologize because I brought a lot of bitterness into that. And a lot of that conversation was mine. And that's from 15 years of hell and trying to push for the right thing. Now, with everything that I said, there were some wonderful things that I saw due to connections and camaraderie and things in the VFW. Honestly, I think if it wasn't for the VFW, I would have never met Willis.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, and looking at another wonderful human being and having some of the connections and the network that I've created over the years is because of that. And I have looked at people and met people that their lives were saved because of somebody that they talked to when they were in there. Yes, there is so much negative and so much bad, and that's any place you walk into. So first to apologize for bringing my bitterness into that, because what it is set in place to do and the programs that it has in the background and the money that it raises for certain programs. And I'll be the first one that says that I support the national home, because that's a big one. And I still am involved in the cooties. And I don't know if you guys have that down there in Texas,
Yeah.
but so that's something where I'm like, there are some wonderful things that come a part of it. It's unfortunate that the fights that happen in between it, even with the cooties, between the cooties and the VFW, it's like, come on, you guys, because it's all one common goal. We're the people that are coming in there to help. We all want the same thing. We just want to help people. And there are some VFWs that I've heard good things about. Abilene, Texas is one of them that I have heard good things about. And I think every VFW that you walk into, you're going to find good things. And when I talk about a VFW, I have to take my personal experience out of it. I have to take being in the interwebs of the VFW out of it, because when talking to another veteran and going, hey, maybe this place can help you, And it's unfortunate that my list of people that I tried to send to the VFW once I walked away 2 years ago have not had what they should. And I wish that was better. I wish that there were more people in there to fight and go, this is what these people need. This is what we're working on. This is why this is so welcoming, because that's what it was set up for. And I want to see that. I want to see it so desperately.
Well,
So
I think
do they?
Well,
Go ahead.
with everything that you said, Candace, I believe that you would make a perfect leader in Texas, because everything you talk about is exactly what a lot of our leadership does here. So thank you for that. I mean, I think you should get back in, move to Texas, and become part of the VFW here, because evidently
I knew he was going to say that.
Hey, bad experience with an Air Force dude in Abilene, Texas.
we don't have Air Force in Texas. They're not really allowed here.
Well, hey,
So-
just real quick.
Hey, pay my
I just
moving
wanna tell you
expenses. I'll be
guys-
in Houston soon.
Yeah, I just want to tell you guys bye. I appreciate the time. I got to go, but great conversation, and have a good rest of the show, everybody.
See you,
Good
buddy.
to see you, Matt.
See you,
See you
buddy.
guys.
But no, getting back to what, so the VFWs are what I think what Ty was saying is that like-minded individuals like us,
Mm-hmm.
we need to go into a VFW and not just go be a member. We need to try to get on the panel, work our way up from, starting at the bottom all the way up. And then that's where the real change of the VFW is going to come into play.
Absolutely.
Because like Ty said, it's the older generation that's running the VFWs right now. And, the Vietnam vets, they for the longest time, they didn't see vets like Ty, who, have been to war, didn't see Ty as the same as them, because
Right.
they said that the Vietnam War was one of the worst wars out there.
Mhm.
But I think they are slowly coming around and slowly realizing that the same shit that Ty, same shit Rich, the same shit that I went through, I think they're slowly realizing that.
They go, oh shit, you've seen something.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think we need to get back into, I think the younger generation needs to get back into the VFW and try to make a positive change, because the VFW is, just like the American Legion, just like they're all set up to help veterans and the community, not just veterans, but the community as well. I just think we as a community, I think that's where it needs to start to help. Help end veteran suicide. I think, starting the grassroots in the VFWs and work our way up, because there's a lot of great people like on LinkedIn that are really involved with, national VFW, and they're doing amazing things. So,
Yeah.
I just think it's case by case, state by state on how good the VFWs are. And it's the leadership that's there. So
I think that like here in Murfreesboro, the VFW that we have here, I mean, they opened their doors for myself and others who are not veterans to come in, meet them, meet their members, have discussion. And then, knowing all of a sudden, it was like, once that happened, I was getting all sorts of things. I mean, that they do for the community, invites for their Ruck March and their Silkies Run, and just on and on and on. And the commander of this VFW is, I mean, he is so gung ho. I think they were like, I don't know, all-star or something like that for this particular VFW. And he now is moving on to become district commander, and which I think is great, because his enthusiasm just continues to help trickle that down to the other VFWs. And I think that, and in this particular instance, it's not that older generation that's running this. It is, your age group, our age group, well, younger than me. So that's a plus. But I think Matt was right. If we can focus on those that are doing really well, put that spotlight on those, then maybe other VFWs will see it or hear about it and want to do better. I think that's all I got.
I agree
No,
with
I
that.
agree.
Like I even considered, look, A.D. Elliott started a brand new VFW
Yeah.
out in Bardstown.
Yeah.
And him and I have been talking. He's like, come on, Candace, you know I need you. I need you to start that auxiliary. And I'm like, 80? Like, look,
But
maybe.
no, Gunny D's just said right here, our generation has more resources other than the Legion and VFW. There are way more veteran nonprofits out there now. No,
100%.
I would agree with you 100% on that, Deeds. Matter of fact, we just had this conversation when you were on with Kentucky Wounded Heroes. Um, you are right. There are a lot more, nonprofits out there that do, take veterans out on fishing trips, take veterans out on hunting trips, and all these different things. But like Matt was saying, what happens when that veteran gets back and he's done doing, his weekend retreat with whatever organization that he went to? Yeah, he built camaraderie with the veterans that are there, but those guys are not always there. And like I told you on the podcast, I love sitting around a campfire and talking with other veterans and hearing their stories and me telling them my story. I think if a VFW or American Legion had a campfire kind of situation where guys can go up there and hang out around the campfire and just chit chat, I think that would be amazing. Which I don't know if they do. I've been to one, maybe two VFWs in my career, and neither one of those did. So
Well, I mean, it's also like, so Stephen Williams made a good point earlier in one of his comments. You're looking at this generation of veterans now are starting new families. They have kids. So going to a post with a canteen is not really the draw. Where, and I was working on that at my post and bringing in, children functions and family functions. And that's something that's important to this generation because they do have young kids. So looking at some of these other nonprofits and these other VSOs that are doing family events that they can include their children and things like this. So some of them are searching for that. And that is hurting the membership of some of these, the Legions, the DAVs, the VFWs, like all of them. That's hurting the membership because the stigma of it just being a bar. And that's where the change from within has to be we have to be able to reach all sorts of veterans, regardless of the generation, regardless of the family and home life. Like there's got to be different avenues to reach them.
Yeah.
And so trying to put some of these different ideas into play, that was something I worked diligently on. Was one day a week was something for the kids. One day a week was something for the families. One day a week was specifically just for membership. That way they could have that safety and they could have the choice of, hey, I know the post is open tonight, so I may or may not want to go there because I don't know who's walking through the door. And veterans want that. There is people that are heavy into the VFWs and posts and things like that. They enjoy being able to go somewhere, and no matter what, they know the people that are possible of walking through that door.
Yeah.
And it's given that safe haven, but also given it something comfortable for whatever lifestyle you have outside of that post.
Yeah. So it just basically goes back down to us as the younger generation needs to get into a leadership role to change that stigma. And yeah, you're going to get pushback, but if you get enough like-minded people to go into a VFW and make a change, I think that's what we need to do. So let's kind of lighten the mood a little bit because this has been a little hot topic. So I shared this. I saw this the other day. After decades of secrecy, the Ghost Army is honored for saving U.S. lives in World War II. Now, I've never heard of the Ghost Army until I saw this. Yeah, and I thought it was pretty neat because,
look at those two little guys.
So these are three of the guys. Hey, I'm going to share this, Ty.
Three. Where do you see three?
There's three of them there.
The little guy off to the side.
Ty, if you can put that on the screen, I'd appreciate it, brother.
Come on, Ty.
There we go. So here we go. After decades of secrecy, the Ghost Army is honored for saving U.S. lives in World War II. And I think there's one here, and then these two gentlemen here. but what they would do is when they were, they would run, uh, use inflatable tanks, phony uniforms, fake rumors, special effects to deceive German forces during World War II, diverting attention from larger units and saving hundreds of thousands of American lives in process. But their contributions remain classified for decades, with many veterans taking the secret to their graves. On Thursday, after many years of lobbying, they finally got public recognition in form of a congressional gold medal, the highest honor the legislative body bestows. Three Ghost Army veterans came to the U.S. Capitol to accept the award, surrounded by military and congressional leaders, lawmakers from both parties, and relatives of Ghost Army members. I think that's pretty neat, because, like I said, I never heard of the Ghost Army, and I didn't know that was a thing. Rich, have you ever heard of the Ghost Army?
Yes, by being part of the OSS, also part of World War II history and lore, those guys were basically the forefront for what we call psyops now. They joined this unit because they didn't want to be in combat roles, and they wound up having more risky jobs because they were in the front lines without that training that they needed to be in combat, and putting up the feint systems such as rubber tanks or the blow up this or that. Same thing we do now. All the things we learned from that unit, it was the 23rd headquarters or something it was called, headquarters unit or something like that. Uh, it came out. No one thought that would last forever, but we used all those tactics through Korea, through Vietnam. We use it today. We're using it. I was in JRT and there was units using the same techniques down there. The last 2 weeks I was down there to deceive the enemy the same way they did. And no one knew what they did really out loud until I think it was 2013. A documentary came out about them. And then just recently they got the Congressional Gold Medal.
How cool is
Yeah,
that?
I think that's
I
I
know.
think it's pretty neat. 80, I think he said 80 years later or something of
Hmm.
that nature. I think it's just, man, I think it's awesome. And then I shared this one too. With eyes on China, U.S. special operators are back to battle in the jungle. So basically, saying this article was saying, um, that, with the desert warfare that we've done over the last 20 plus years, that the military kind of went away from jungle warfare training, and now that China is doing its thing, um, uh, they're starting to shift back to jungle training, um, which, I mean, is there a lot of jungle in China? I've never been there, so I couldn't tell you if there's a lot of jungle there. I know.
We're thinking about
uh,
other places to fight. So think
yeah.
of Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Guam, Taiwan. All those
Okay.
countries there have like areas, and Philippines. They'll go after the Philippines as well. So all the areas have jungle, I guess, fortresses for them.
Yeah.
So we have to relearn how to fight there, and we still have our jungle training centers that we go to, and we just haven't been, I guess, advertising it as much just now because of the news. We have to say yes, we're training.
Okay. It says, here it goes. Last summer, a small team of Marine Raiders completed a jungle warfare course that addresses the challenges U.S. forces might encounter in an Indo-Pacific conflict. Taught by special operations and law enforcement veterans at the Tactical Tracking Operations School. The course began in 2015, but really took off in 2021. The 2 week course takes place on the island of Oahu, Hawaii, or yeah,
Heck, come on, Willis. How you say it?
yeah, and is designed to take small special operation teams and teach them the necessary skills to survive and thrive in jungle operations.
Excuse him. He's a Marine, and it's not written in crayon.
Oh,
God,
Shots fired! Shots fired!
I know.
Give me that crayon and a piece of paper.
You're fired.
Oh, there it is. I was waiting. Every episode.
But no, and then there was the story about the Marine gunnery sergeant stops fellow Marine from jumping off a bridge.
Aw.
Now I think that happened in 2019 maybe.
But that's a good story. sorry. I don't care when it was.
No, so
No,
this was
22.
22.
Yeah, that was.
In May 2022. Go ahead, Carolee.
Oh, I was looking at
So
it. Just that saved the life of a fellow Marine at Naval Air Station Dam Neck, Virginia, March 21st, 2024.
yeah,
So that
that's
must have been
Oh.
just the photo.
yeah, it
Must
might
have been the date on the photo.
Yeah, it says here. This is in May 2022. Marine Gunnery Sergeant Benjamin Frazier was driving across a bridge in Virginia when he saw a young man on the bridge's ledge. He also saw that a woman was trying to talk to the man while looking around for someone to help. Um, let's see, but I did see somewhere where it said 2021 too. Um, yes, it's on March 21st. Oh, so no, on March 21st is when he received the award. He received the Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal for stopping the other Marine for attempting to end his life.
How's that all? Like, how awesome is that though? And it just happened to be a Marine and a Marine, and
I think it's pretty freaking badass, actually.
mhm.
And Deeds will tell you, and Rich can probably tell you as well. We're taught that, you know, if we see something like that or something of that nature, we're supposed to try to help intervene and stop that from happening. And I would do it now, you know, like if I was driving across a bridge or whatever and saw somebody trying to, I would stop and get out and see if I can help.
Yeah.
That's just human nature. I mean,
Right.
that's being a good human. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, no, I think that's pretty cool.
I gotta step back for a second.
You're doing all right, and then let's see what else. I don't want to talk about that one. Is that the one you shared, Rich? Do you want to talk about the last one you shared? The
We don't have to
helicopter.
talk about enough bad stuff.
Okay, yeah, we can talk
That
about
well,
that.
both pilots survived that one. You know, he helped out.
Yeah, was that an army? Was that an army helicopter?
Yeah, it was an Apache up by Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington. It crashed out in the community. People were able to get there in time to help them out and save them, recover the pilots and get them to safety.
Okay.
Yeah. There have been so many recently. And I had a guest on my show who is a pilot and Air Force pilot, and he flew helicopters. And I had to ask the question, you know, for those like myself, how safe are they in comparison? And he's like, oh yeah, no, they're actually way more safe. It's just that when things happen, it seems like when you buy a whole new set of appliances all at once, they all go down, break at the same time. It's kind of the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
So
No, I think for the most part, like a lot of the older helicopters and stuff like that, you know, they're usually pretty good to go. I know when the Osprey first came out, there was a lot of issues, you know, when they first came out. But I think they finally eventually got all that worked out. Luckily, I got out before I had to fly on one, because right when I was getting out was when they first came out. So. But Deed says that goes all the way to the SecDev for approval, certified eyes, witness statements, and it used to go to the president. Yeah, so the award that Marine got goes all the way to the SecDev to get approval. So I think that's pretty neat. I mean, that's one of the highest awards you can get. So, but no, tonight's episode's been pretty good. I know. We kind of touched on some nerves there, which we kind of knew we were going to touch on some nerves on a little bit of the thing. But yeah, I agree with Ty. When we do the podcast, I think we need to keep it to a positive, because we are, you know, leaders in our role here as a podcast host, and I don't want to knock any organization that is actually trying to help veterans, because that's not what we do. And yes, it's everybody has a right to their own opinion. Yes, I agree with that as well. But we do need to kind of, you know, keep our own opinions to ourselves. And then, you know, within a certain confinement, I guess that's the right word to use on that, because, if there's an organization out there that's trying to help veterans, we as senior leadership need to try to figure a way to help make that situation better. Like with the VFWs here in Kentucky, we need the younger generation to step into those leadership roles within the VFW to help bring it into the 21st century, which, like with, I'm not saying utilizing social media, but they're, bring it into where it's more family friendly, more family orientated, and go that route.
Or maybe really just focus on, like, if we're bringing any type of personal experience into it, let's just keep it positive.
Yeah,
because I could come up with hundreds of them, and I'll continue to call myself out on that. I'll take accountability for it. I was bitter, and then again, it got a little sorry, a little biased, but no, I like there's some great things, and I think every organization out there has something where there's going to be something positive in it, and it goes back to we all do it different.
Mm-hmm.
Different things help different people, and for some people, the VFW is what works. For some people, an American Legion's what works. For some people, a hunting trip is what works. For different people, it's different things.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we definitely do it all different, and so. Yeah, I mean it's kind of like with like Matt and Ty's experience out there in Houston. Next time I'm out in Houston, I'm gonna have to go to the VFW.
I know I want to go.
I'm gonna have to go to the VFW with Ty and Matt and hang out with them and see what their VFW is doing different than what they're doing here in Kentucky. I know some of the American Legions that like Carl Truman goes to, they do all kinds of things for the community, and I've always heard good things about the American Legion there.
Did you go to the one on Smyrna?
Yeah, the one on Smyrna. Yeah,
they're always doing stuff.
So the younger generation, if you're watching this, you need to get into the leadership roles at the VFWs, or help become a member, and then try to help make a change within the VFW, especially if it's one that's not performing very well. Like I think Michael Whitlatch up there said that his VFW closed because they didn't have a lot of members.
Well, it's not always about being in leadership either, though. Just figure out what works for you that you can help. And that was, you don't want to just put somebody in a chair because they're a body.
Yeah.
Find out what they thrive on. Figure out where they can help. And that's where you position where you can use their assistance, whether it's volunteering for something, or, being behind the canteen one day a week, or just something where they can come and give their time, but also conversation and an ear for somebody. Sometimes that's more important than sitting in a chair.
Yeah.
But I think too, they also need to show up.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. It's one thing to pay your dues, and I'm sure VFWs appreciate that, but it's another to be active and be there and help, because you can't make change if you're not going to be there.
Yeah, I would agree with you. So I'm a union guy. I work for a telecommunications company, and we're part of a union. And I hear the same thing. Like I go to every union meeting. So every union meeting I'm there, whether it's via Zoom or I'm actually in person. And we have a buttload of employees across the country. But if it's the same 10 people that go every time, don't complain and say, well, the union ain't done nothing for me, because you are the union. So you have to show up to the meetings to affect change. And it's the same thing with the VFW. If you don't go to the VFW or Legion, then eventually they're going to go away. And unfortunately, they're a great resource for veterans. So you have to go and be part of and embed yourself within the VFW, the American Legions, to positively affect change. So
yeah. And Rich, you're in Nashville,
Clarksville.
So if you have an opportunity to check it out, the VFW Stones River Post 12206, that's the one that I've had the opportunity to go in and and really kind of see what they're about and check it out if you have the time or the inclination to do so.
I think I met some of them at the Heroes Run down there in Murfreesboro in
Yes, you.
2022.
Mm-hmm.
I was with Travis Bank Foundation. I got to hang out with them guys. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well,
And
guys,
to answer
I want to.
the question, I have not heard anything bad about the testing on the two Chinooks, so it must be going well.
Yeah, I didn't even know where they testing them at.
On the Eagle Airfield here. I'm not sure exactly what the tests are completely on, but one just flew over my house. I don't know if you heard that. So,
No, I didn't hear it. Yeah, we didn't hear it at all. But anyway, guys, tonight's been a great episode. Y'all got anything else to talk about? Y'all want to bring it up, talk about?
Keep pushing forward, everyone. Stay in the light and stay with us. If you need something, contact any one of us. We're here for you.
Definitely.
That's right. Check in.
Yeah, you definitely got to check in with your fellow veterans, your fellow brothers and sisters, or first responders, regardless of first responders have they deal with PTS just like we do as veterans. It might be different than what we see, and they see stuff daily, especially as a police officer or a paramedic, EMT, or firefighter. I mean, they deal with stuff daily. And I was talking with the vice president of Kentucky Wounded Heroes, and he's still active duty state trooper here in Kentucky, and he got ran over on the job. I think he was on the side of the highway, and he got ran over, and he had a lot of surgeries and stuff like that. And then they moved him inside to a desk job that he loves. He said at first he didn't like it, but now he loves it. And he got involved with Kentucky Wounded Heroes just at first as just somebody who was going to the events that they were having. And, he was telling his story, and he said, well, I don't have PTS. And then he was telling his story more. And then somebody, tapped him on his shoulder and said, hey, I hate to tell you, bub, but you have PTS. And so James Thornton says it all the time. We all have very similar stories, but we do it differently. Mm-hmm. So definitely you have to ask the next hard question. Like if I go up to Rich and say, hey, Rich, how you doing? Rich is going to say, I'm fine. But internally, Rich is friggin', about to ready to break down. That's when you have to ask that next question, that next hard question. Rich, how are you really doing? And more than likely, if Rich knows you, he's going to open up to you. And I'm the same way. If you come up to me, I'm going to say, hey, I'm fine. But if you ask me how I'm really doing, I'm probably going to open up and tell you, hey, I'm struggling inside. And I'll be the first to be right now. I'm pretty blunt and honest. My stepdad's in the hospital. It was touch and go for a while. And of course, I just lost my dad back in August. And my kids have seen a lot of death over the last 4 years, between losing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 grandparents. Then, it's just been crazy. So I've been dealing with a lot, but I got to keep pushing forward. And luckily I have a good support staff with my wife and my kids and the friends and family that I chose, like you guys with Tip of the Spear, with everything that we got going with the podcast. And the podcast helps me keep going. So yeah, Michael, I hate funerals. I hate hospitals, but luckily my stepdad, he is doing better. So
that's good.
We just got to get him out of the hospital and get him in a rehab and go from there. So yeah, no, it's just, you just got to open up and talk about your story of what's going on. You just got to be open. The more you talk about it, the easier it gets. And it'll never go away, but it will get easier. So
can I I'm going to mock Ty. I'd love to see his face right now while I do this.
Hey, Ty, won't you jump on the screen?
Yeah, let me see your face.
Okay.
So, I don't know if we can do this, but I'm going to do it.
Hold on, let me put you on solo screen.
No, don't do that.
No, yeah.
Okay.
Now
Spotlight. I'm in a hot seat. No. I want to give homework to everybody watching. Ready?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna play the homework card. How hard is it to look through your contact list in your phone or down your friends list on your Facebook and find somewhere between 1 and 5 people between this podcast and next month that you know is a veteran, active, or a first responder? Reach out to them. Just say hi. I got an ear.
I did that earlier today, didn't I, Ty?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of where it's brought me. Like all the conversations and stuff today, I'm like, man, you know how many people, like, I say my thing needs security clearance for all my contacts, but
That's a great challenge.
I got to reach out to some people.
No, that is a great challenge.
Hanging up on
Everybody
that
knows
right?
somebody.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So,
and I apologize to anyone in the audience that I may have offended. I'm not attacking any of your experiences that you've had with any organization. I worked with Lone Survivor Foundation, and I thought it was the greatest thing ever. I had a great experience with it. So maybe the VFW model is antiquated. I'm more than willing to have that conversation, but the conversation this evokes from different perspectives, different, we're Kentucky, we're Tennessee, we're all over Texas, we're all over. I really like the perspectives and the different points of view we have. I think I do want to have homework, so I do want to invite people, to come watch this as well, because this is a good discussion that we've had. So yeah, I really appreciate it.
I got my kid on.
Is important.
Yeah, she got her kid. Killen was on.
Killian.
Or Killian.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Think of the beer.
Look, I told you, he's a Marine. He's going to be killing from now on.
That's what I told him. I call him that now on occasion.
All right, so let's do this. Hold on, Ty, before you jump off.
Okay.
Upcoming guests. Who does Triple Threat have upcoming?
Oh my good Lord.
Good.
Lonnie Martinez is coming up this Thursday, and then next Thursday, Mac Verdi, who is the founder of Veteran Mortgage Solutions, who is a branch of Preferred Rate and American Pacific Mortgage. So.
And the one after that, I think, is James Thornton on the 13th.
And then after that, you've got man, you know my schedule better than me, man. You're the one that showed me how to do a schedule.
So, all right, Rich, what do you got coming up, sir?
We're pretty much taking off until after Easter. So tomorrow, no one's scheduled tomorrow, but we might just come on and do a hey, this is us, and introduce Steve and Jake to the world, since they've done 2 shows. Let the world know who they are. And Monday on the Tuesday cruise show, they'll have Alan Meisner, 101st Airborne Division Air Assault veteran. They'll be talking about fitness over 40. Thursday, I'll be talking to Christian Espinoza, best-selling author and entrepreneur, excels in cybersecurity and real estate.
Awesome. All right, Miss Carol Lee, who do you got coming up?
So I don't have a show Easter Sunday. I figured I'd give everybody a break, let them enjoy their time with family. So April 7th, I have Marquetta Oliver, Air Force veteran. I have on the 14th, Richard Flake. I have the 21st, Matt Childers. He's an Army veteran. And then the 28th, Ed McLean, United States Air Force veteran. Let's see.
Oh, he's Warrior Racers.
Yes, that
Awesome.
is correct. So
Awesome. And I'll tell you another good one for your show would be Gunnery Sergeant Samuel Deeds right there. I serve with Deeds with 2nd Battalion 8th Marines, and we did serve with a Killen, so that's kind of why that name resonates with me.
Don't help him out, guys. Don't help him out.
And then for me, I don't have one for March 31st. I don't have one for Sunday the 31st. April 1st, I got David Bellman. Then I have author on Sunday the 7th. I got author Matthias Carter, who wrote Instead of Sheep, which is a children's book.
He's an awesome dude.
He's an awesome guy. He's also with the Road Home program by Rush in Chicago, Illinois. And then I have Miss Carol Lee with Conversations with the Vet on April the 8th. Then I got Michelle Black, who is a Gold Star widow who wrote Sacrifice,
Awesome.
which Rich had her on his show. And then I got Operation Healing Heroes coming up. And then I got Warriors to Racers coming up as well. And then I have the American Legion Post 291 out of Newport Beach, California, which is going to be a fun episode. They have their 100-year anniversary coming up. Then I have a tentative Chris Cruz with Cruz Custom Flags. He makes the bourbon barrel American flags, which you see up here at the top. He makes those. And then I have a real estate agent, Jeremy Kuntz, coming up as well. That rounds out April for me. So, yeah. And then if you want to join one of our shows, reach out to go to Conversations with the Vet on Facebook, or go to the Misfit Nation, or go to Triple Threat Vets, or go or Homefront Sit Rep, or
yeah, don't forget yourself.
Or the Decision Hour with Adam Bird, which he's one of the guys that are on here. Or if you're a Marine, the Oath We Took podcast with Tab Bartley. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it tonight. She was dealing with 2 sick kiddos. And then I Am Pitts podcast. That's the 7 podcasts that make up the Tip of the Spear Veterans Roundtable. So, any closing statements from you guys?
All good.
Everybody have a happy and safe Easter, and enjoy your families and the food.
Yes, same to y'all. Everybody have a wonderful rest of the month.
Awesome. You guys as well. And like I say always, stay safe out there, and we got your 6. Oh, Ty's still writing in chats.